Hello my perfume loving friends, it's Jasper here again from Top 10 Fragrances. This week I want to talk to you about a perfume which has kind of split people's views. And it's also a perfume that's been accused of being slightly linear, slightly boring actually. And I don't think that's the case with this. I don't think that's particularly fair. So we're talking this week about Balmain's Ambre Gris. That's the box there, very, very simple. This is a 100ml bottle we've got here. You can see that's not a forgery, you've got all the correct barcodes at the bottom there. The bottle is very, very elegantly simple. Thick quality glass as you would expect, with a nice sort of funky disco ball on the top there with some nice black twine around the neck. And I think the font's beautiful as well, it's very elegantly classic, as you can see there. A nice colour as well. It all reeks quality, actually, all the packaging. Really, really good. But the name, Ambre Gris, what does that mean? Does it mean Ambre Gris as in grey amber, as it's directly translated from French, or does it mean Ambre Gris, i.e. the product that comes from the whale, that comes from the stomach of the whale? And they secrete this stuff called Ambre Gris, and it sort of ends up floating on top of the sea and heading off to places like the Pacific and washing up on shore. And dries in the sun, and it gives off this beautiful, beautiful marine sort of smell. I know what it smells like simply because I have a bottle of it here. This is Ambre Gris. This is the oil. This is synthetically produced simply because the real thing is very, very expensive, and I wouldn't want it on ethical grounds either. But this stuff here, this Ambre Gris by Balmain, smells nothing like the Ambre Gris in that bottle there. It doesn't smell like the product that you find on the shorelines of Tahiti and places like that. It smells completely different. Still a very, very good fragrance, but it doesn't smell anything like the Ambre Gris that I was expecting when I first smelt it. And actually I was slightly disappointed, to be honest with you. Got my head around it. It's actually a very, very good perfume. It's very, very clever. This is a very, very subtle changer. It sort of changes quite a lot on your skin. So don't dismiss the initial notes because it does change quite a lot. So let's talk about the house. And Balmain was, he was born, Pierre Balmain was born in 1914 in a little village called Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne in Savoie, in the mountains by Switzerland. And sadly his father died when he was only 7 years old. By his writings, his happiest times were spent as a child at about 7 years old. After that sort of date, his father died. His happiest times were spent in his mother's and aunt's shop, where they were dressmakers, playing with fabrics and things. So I guess he was kind of steering towards being something to do with the fashion industry, even as a child. When he left school and university, he studied to be an architect and dropped out of that course simply because he found it boring and went back into the fashion world. Moved to Paris and got to know some fairly big names of the time, people like Robert Piguet and these sort of people from the 30s and 40s. Then war came along, and in 1947, after the war, he founded his own shop, or his own line, if you like, his own maison, producing his own clothes. He also founded his, or launched his first perfume, which he called Élysée 6483, which is Élysée 6483, which was his telephone number, believe it or not, back in 1947. And it actually went down a storm, went down quite well. He died sadly in 1982, but his house is still going under the stewardship of some very, very innovative and creative people. So yeah, they've got a bit of a revival going on at the moment, actually, by all accounts. He was probably most famous in the fashion world for introducing French elegance to America after the war in the late 40s, early 50s, and actually producing that off the peg as well. So it was more accessible to for people to buy, and it was bringing French chic to the United States. And that was probably his kind of most noted achievement, really. So the notes in this perfume don't have anything to do with Ambre Gris, as I said to you before, the original Ambre Gris, which comes from the whale. But this stuff here is a little bit different. It has top notes of pink pepper and benzoin. And as I mentioned to you earlier on, it's so well blended you can't pick any of these notes out. Heart notes, Immortelle, Blossom and Tuberose, but which I can't detect at all. There's cinnamon and a myrrh in there as well. Actually, there's a slight spicy sort of zippiness to it, which I guess comes from the cinnamon, I'm presuming. But you can't really smell any single note in this perfume, and that's a compliment because it's so well blended. In fact, if you like your Oriental fragrances and Oriental florals to be slightly sweet and slightly powdery, you'll really love this stuff. It's got that kind of old school powdery background to it. It balances with spices and florals absolutely impeccably. So it's like just a warm glow, really. But you just give this time, guys. Again, you need to put this on, and it changes very subtly on your skin over time. It's not something that you need to spray and wait 15 minutes before you go out. It will just keep changing all the time. Sillage is very good. You're talking about 2 or 3 meters, but longevity is superb with this perfume. You're talking about 6 to 8 hours, and you will certainly smell this on your clothes the next morning if you've been wearing it the night before. Launched in 2008. Nose was Guillaume Flavigny, who's getting a bit of a name for himself as well. And I think, to summarise, it's just a really lovely everyday perfume. It's not one of those in-your-face, heady, cloying perfumes, which a lot of sweeter perfumes tend to be. A lot of sweeter fragrances tend to be sort of, oh, I can almost taste that in my mouth. This isn't like that. It's very subtle. As I said, it's very interesting the way it changes over time. A really nice perfume. What can I say, really? Where can you get it from? Well, Lucky Scent do this for about the 100 milliliter for about $80, $80 US. So it's not the cheapest on the market, but it's not horrendously expensive. I do know that Parfums NDP sell this for about 50 euros as well. So that's very good value for money. And talking about Parfums NDP, don't forget, guys, you can get your decants from them. Just go onto their website, www.parfumsmdp.com, and have a look at what they supply. And I'll see you next week for our next review. Thank you.